Okay, let's go ahead and get things sent out. Get Twitter in here. Get Discord taken care of. And we should be good. So, hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is June 28th. And this is the June 28th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be continuing our work in combat. However, we're not going to be working directly in combat, at least not to start. I have been sketching up a bunch of designs for combat label mechanics, basically coming up with ways to make the actually typing more interesting. Because currently we only have one way of typing. You type, if it's the correct letter, then it highlights that letter and blows it up slightly. If it's wrong, then it just causes the label to shake a little bit, and then you try again. But it would be nice for variety if we could actually have a few more mechanics in there. And probably how these would be structured is these would either be used with specific weapons or against specific enemies. I'm not actually sure what would be the best case there. So that means we'll have to come up with a generic way of having behavior modifiers. But that's essentially the same thing as our current combat label approach, where we have hazard effects that we can arbitrarily apply to labels. But we're going to be doing a little bit more in-depth text analysis for today. And what I mean by that is we're going to be messing around a lot with the Vertex animation suite inside of TextMesh Pro. So I'm actually going to go ahead and jump out from this scene to a test scene, because I'm essentially going to want to put a test tool together that will let me adjust vertex information on TextMesh Pro labels so that I can more easily test, like, what does this label look like if I give these letters these random offsets. So we're probably going to be spending the bulk of the time. I'll be impressed if we move on past that tonight, admittedly, because that's going to be something that takes us a while. So to start, let's go ahead and make this pretty easy. I am going to actually drag in my combat label. Okay, we're just going to put that in here. I say that, and then it doesn't do it. Okay, let's reset its position. Okay, take a look at our main camera. Our game view here. Let's see. Oh. And let's go ahead and blow up the alpha on this. So 1. We'll also fix its rotation. Okay. And let's move our main camera a little bit closer. So we'll say like -5. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So we're going to come up with a tool that will let us just kind of adjust these text vertices. So if we actually select our label, which is going to take a little bit because it's a TextMesh Pro label, which means it's going to take about 5 minutes for it to load information regarding it. So I'm going to take a drink. And still waiting, aren't we? Oh, good. Well, it will eventually load everything. Eventually. I should have clicked on a label before the Devstream. I always forget to do that. All right. So you can see that we have individual letters here. Although, actually, I guess it kind of hides those meshes from you, doesn't it? Well, I guess we're going to have to actually just go ahead and make the tool in order for me to show you this. All right, fair enough. So let's go ahead. And how do I want to approach this? I guess the easiest thing is just to make a one-off script. Would that be the easiest thing, or would it be easier to make a window? Editor script, non-editor script. Will be boring. No, yeah, we'll be boring and make this a regular script. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and collapse all of this. All right, let's go ahead and I'm gonna move this into a test folder. Let's create a C# script. I'm gonna call this one label vertex debug. Wow, that's terrible. Why not? I can't think of a better name for it. Essentially, what we're going to do with this script is we're going to attach it to our label, and then we're going to manually offset a lot of the vertices. So we'll move like the A to the left, the T up, the T down, the A, I don't know, down right, C up right, and K to the right. Basically, I want to have a way for me to just kind of mess around with the TextMesh Pro vertex stuff, and that's what this script is going to do. Now, it's not going to be used in the final version. Largely, what we're going to use it for there is this is just going to be a quick way for us to basically see where or what values we should use for certain things. So let's go ahead and I'm going to say using TM Pro. Okay, we'll say public text mesh pro, not UGUI because it's a regular label that's in the world. We'll just call this label. All right, and here is where things are going to get interesting. I guess for a hacky way of doing this, I'm going to go ahead and create a system.serializable class. So, not private, it's got to be public. Public class, we'll call this letter info. Then we'll say public int index is equal to 0. Public int, I guess actually let's go ahead and say vector2 offset is equal to we'll say vector2.0 to start, and I think that's pretty much all I'm going to care about for now. I'm not going to worry about things like scaling or rotation for now. I am purely interested in getting my letters to just move arbitrarily whenever I want, or to whatever position I want them to be in. So let's see here. I am going to say public letter info, and we'll say letter info is equal to new letter info 0. Okay. So we're going to need to do a couple of things. Let's say private void refresh label, and we're going to say private void refresh letter info. Not indo, info. Okay. We're going to make this a context menu item. So that way we'll just say refresh letters or letters. Okay. Context menu, refresh label. These are basically just nice convenient shortcuts for me to actually have the label reflect my changes. And otherwise, we're going to do this, which is going to be fun. So I'm going to need to say label dot, I think I want to say get, what is it? Bounds, camera, character, oh, is it character info? Is that right? Nope. What do we got? There we are, get text info. Oh, nope, here we are. Text info. Yes, this is what we want. So I need to assign that, so tmp underscore text info, tmp underscore text info is equal to that. Okay. Basically what we're going to do with this refresh function is we're going to grab the text info from our label, and then we will use that to populate our letter info, and from there we'll be able to manually adjust the letter info, which we will then reapply back when we say refresh label. So that will let us basically test things out by moving letters to certain positions. And we can expand on this later to do things like rotation and scaling, but I'm not too worried about that for now. Okay, so from that, we're going to need to say info dot, I believe, yep, character count, and character info is going to be an array of, yep, char info, okay, which, now that I think about it, is not a serialized class, is that right? It is not. It is commented out as being a serialized thing. So that's all populated at runtime, because of course it is, which probably means I need to do this label dot, is it force mesh update? Yeah. Okay. So force mesh update should make sure that our text info is accurate, because it's possible at edit time that this isn't populated yet, and that would be pretty annoying. So for all of our character info, we're just going to go ahead and say tmp underscore character info, make that an array. We'll call that char info is equal to this. Okay. And then from there, we're going to loop through and do everything. So we'll say headset is coming apart. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than char info dot length I plus plus. All right, so we're gonna say, I guess after this we should say letter info is equal to new letter info and then char info dot length. Okay, come over to here, and we're just gonna say letter info of I dot index is equal to I, then letter info of I dot offset is equal to, and here's where it's going to get fun, char info of I dot, oh good, it actually does tell you the index, that's kind of nice. Let's see, so we do have some amount of, oh, scale is a float, which I guess makes sense. Offset should be somewhere around here. So these are the vertices. Oof. Yeah, that's about right. So this is vertex bottom left, bottom right, top left, and top right. And these are actually the vertices that we need to manipulate. Oh, geez, am I going to have to get it that way? Maybe not. I might be able to just move the origin. Let's see. I lied. Origin is for some weird reason a float, which is not helpful at all. Let's see, what else do we have in here before I just grab all of the vertices and have to manually move them? Font asset, character, that's probably just the char, isn't it? Yep. Okay, bottom left I'm guessing is... Okay, so bottom left and bottom right then are our actual positions for our vertices. Okay, that is somewhat useful. But that doesn't actually tell us what the current position is, which probably means that we don't have that information, and instead we need to cache it. Ugh, of course we do. Well, let me think. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Let's see. I suppose for now... Well, can I just get nothing from this? What do I get from my TMP vertex? I get a vector 3 position, our UVs, which are not useful, and then the color. So, that's super awkward, but I guess we'll have to work with that. Okay, so I need to get the top left position. I'm assuming that that's world position. I guess it could be local position. Well, let's find out. I am going to get rid of this real quick, and I'm actually going to debug .log char info of I dot, what was it, bottom left? Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it had top left, and I'm assuming that means it has top right and all that too. Yeah, okay. So we'll just say bottom left. And we'll say the dot to vector string, because otherwise I'm sure we're going to get something that's not really that useful. And that should let us actually refresh this info. Well, I mean, it's not going to let us actually manipulate it, but it will at least give us a sense of if those vector 3 values are local or world space. Because if they're world space, then that's going to get kind of difficult to actually calculate, but not impossible. Okay, so let's go ahead and just apply this. Whew, man, all of the things that I have on this. Let's just go ahead and put this on this test object here. Test. We'll put this here. We'll drag our label in. Okay, not gonna work with me here. Oh, wait, what? Why is this? Alright, I didn't realize that I made that a UGUI. I thought I made it a regular one. But fine, that's fine. Let's make this TextMesh Pro UGUI. Ah, same exact stuff. Okay, now we gotta let that compile, and I'm gonna take a drink while that's happening. Oh, I guess, by the way, I went to a local game dev meetup yesterday. It was the first one I've been to in Indy. So it was nice seeing a bunch of other game developers from the local area because we had all of us knew that there were other developers. We just didn't know where they were. So it's nice to just see that there are other people out there. Okay, refresh letters. Oh, good, we get some null references. Oh, good, even better. It null referenced on the. Ah. Oh no, that makes sense. That was me being stupid. Duh. Um. So I need to say. Okay. Yeah. Give me a second here. We're gonna say letter info of I is equal to new letter info. Let's do that because I didn't initialize anything, so it just had null values. So of course, if you try to grab something from a null value, it's gonna throw an error. Okay. Shazam. Compile. Anyway, I guess while that's going, and of course, that's how I'm going to get it to work from now on. I just got to threaten to tell a story. So let's go ahead and set this back to 0. Up here, we're going to say refresh letters. We got no errors that time, and they are different. And I have to assume this is local, but that doesn't make sense. A-T-T-A-C-K. What are you? Why do I have 2 empty chars? Interesting. Um, well, I suppose that's fine. It looks like that's all local space then? Is that right? No, it's getting smaller as we go. Oh, right. I was thinking that it was local space just because these 14 numbers matched up, but that makes sense because that'd be the y height, which would be roughly the same. Um, okay, so I don't think it's local. It's local space. I guess to be absolutely sure, I just have to do this. And then if I refresh it again, those should be different values. They are not different. Okay, so it's not world space, it's local space. Good. That makes it a little bit easier for us to work with. So that means we can basically get our offset by subtracting our top right from our bottom left from our top right, I believe. And that should essentially get us our difference. So let's go ahead and I'm going to move this back to 0. Okay, come over here, and I'm going to try to get our offset, and then I'm going to try to set up our refresh label, which is probably going to be a bit much. For now, I'm going to go ahead and say, oh dear, this is going to be super weird. I need to basically cache the vertex information, which is not going to be great. When I do this, can I manually specify offsets? I mean, surely I can. I guess the easiest way for me to grab that is just to go to the combat label script and see how I was doing it there. All right. So there should be a misspelling. Actually, I think you can see that I'm caching it right there, the vertex info. So let's see. Here we are. Attack misspell coroutine. Blah, blah, blah. New TMP vertex info, which is a class that I have made. Right? Yes. And it basically stores all of our base info. Okay. And what I'm most interested in right now is our actual misspelling, which is going to be this, although it doesn't actually work like that. So let's go to peek real quick. Character count. Yep, this is about what I remember. Huff. Text mesh TMP vertex info dot vertex nm material index. We don't really care about that. Source vertices. Base mesh info dot vertices. and then we're going to say, I'm going to open this up so that it's easier to read. Essentially what I have to do, if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've done this, I basically have to brute force move my vertex information and then refresh the label. Yeah, so I would say info.cache_label. Here we are. Update geometry. That's what I need to do. Let's see. And then info.cache_label. Are we seriously not using you anywhere else? I don't know about that. Let me think. Let's see, where else am I using update geometry? Find all of this. Letter shake behavior. I think letter shake behavior is a better thing for me to look at. Yeah, because this one actually works. The TextMesh Pro Vertex utility doesn't quite work as well. So this is all the code that we have to do to basically get any sort of vertex animation going. It's not exactly great. So it'd be nice if I could simplify this down to a call that I could essentially do, saying like, set your vertex information to here, or to this offset, basically. So let's see. Let's see, labels.count, cooldowns, blah, 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 blah. I guess I should apologize in advance. Oh, and actually, before I apologize, I should probably do this. Aha! Because it's going to be a coding heavy day. But since it is going to be so code heavy in an area that I'm not particularly well versed in, there's probably going to be a lot of humming and hawing while I think things through. Let's see. Vertex and yeah, not a huge fan. Did I make this its own thing? Nope, of course not. Char info is equal to label info of I dot character info J. Yeah. Okay. So index of material used by the current character. First vertex used by this character. Cache vertices of the mesh used for this. So that is important, by the way. We do need to make sure that we cache our original text positioning, because if we don't, then we'll get what's called drift. Oh, crap! Why didn't I change that? Yes, Garrett, it is. It is somehow still the Saturday party, even though it's Thursday. Oops. Well, that's a little awkward. I thought I changed that already, but I did not, apparently. So, well, I was gonna say I guess I could change that, but it would be kind of pointless because I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't like me to do that while it's live, and also it's gonna be Saturday again soon enough, so it's fine for now. How are you today, Garrett? So for this, we are going to need. Jeez, I forgot how much I hated this. Yeah. God, we basically have to go through the whole process of creating vertex info, which sucks so hard. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and copy all of this for now, because it's all a test script anyway. I just would have preferred that I had kept it somehow not terrible. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say blah, 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 blah. Let's grab this. Refresh. Do I want to put it there? Yeah, probably. Oh, right. I'm just going to put this in the combat namespace. I might as well. Label, force mesh update. And then we're going to have to do all the content. Good, just had one of those why didn't I do this months ago moments. Oh yeah? What was that about? Grab all this. We're going to come up to here. Paste this in. We don't need to worry about states. Cache mesh info is good. I don't actually need this to be a list anymore. I can just say it's equal to that. Same thing with the label info, because we're only going to be manipulating one label at a time, so I don't need it to be a list here. Why are you mad? Oh, it's because I need to do new. There we are. Don't care about changed labels. Don't care about states. Don't care about cooldowns or loop counts. All right. So we're going to say this is equal to this, and this is equal to that. Get rid of you. All right. And let's see, the angle range, that I don't particularly care about, I don't think, anyway. Angle range, speed, and angle. I don't really care about that. I don't think I need any of that. So, what even are you used for? Actually, now that I think about it, I don't quite know. Let's see, vertex and them were used in our initialization. We're kind of using it here. Kind of, but not really. Yeah, that's really weird. Because all we do is get our angle, but I don't really need the angle, so that's not really going to help us any. Which means I think I can get rid of that entirely. I don't think I need any of that. So just get rid of you. Okay, so we have our forced update happening. That's all good. Let's go ahead and comment these out. Jeez. Let's see, it's for inventory. These kinds of games have tons of items, and inventory management is a giant hassle. So I'm adding features to make it easier. I just made it so you can have an alternate version of an item. So equip item 1 and it starts as style A. Click a button and it switches to style B. It means I only need one of item 1 instead of 2. It means one icon, one slot taken up in the inventory, one on the hotbar, etc. Cuts it on the clutter. True, but now don't you have to have an indicator for style A versus style B? I mean, that's still preferable probably to having two separate items that you have to manage, but okay. So letter info is still needed. But now I need to say, I'm pretty sure that I want to, why actually does this not look right to me? Hold on. This seems really weird to me that it would, all right, fine. Okay, so this is equal to label info dot character count. Okay, let's go ahead and say letter info dot length. All right, our index is all set up, and now we need to get it actually set up to use offsets. So, hello, Season Hold. Welcome to the Devstream. Am I coding or hacking? I am coding. I do not possess the skill set necessary to hack. At least not in any effective way, sadly. Although I guess you could say that I'm hacking something together. Um, yeah, in this case, it's a vertical pillar versus a horizontal one held in the hand out in front of the player. And yeah, you definitely could on UI somewhere. It's a never-ending battle for usability. Okay, so we have our indexes now, but now we need to actually cache our offsets. So I suppose what we could do there is, well, one, we have to modify the mesh info, which means that we want to take a look at what our mesh info is doing. So we're going to say cached mesh info of I dot what options do we have? Oh, right, it's just the vertices. So the vertices will give us vector 3s, which we can do something with, and actually that's fine. So I'm going to change this. Instead of having a single offset value, we're just going to have 4 vector 3s. I'm guessing that should be fine. So we'll say vector 3. Oops. And we'll say this is called vertexes, I guess, is equal to new vector 3 of 0. That's all good. All right. And then we're going to say dot vertices. And we're going to say letter info of I dot nothing, because that is nothing. Well, thank you for the follow. Let's see. Sorry, I will eventually make it over to get to the name, but I'm thinking this through right now. So letter info dot, I guess I want to call it vertexes. Yeah, is equal to that. So that should give us our cached vertexes. And I probably want to go ahead and make cached letter info so that I can essentially move it back. So let's go ahead and say private letter info cached info is equal to new letter info. Can't spell. 0. All right. So this is something that we also need to populate. So we're going to go ahead and say, no, I should have a separate function for this. So we're going to say private void refresh cached info. Come up here, say context menu, and then we'll say refresh cached info. And this is probably something we only want to call whenever we actually change the label, otherwise we don't care. But it's important to have a baseline for cached info, because if you don't do that, then you will get drift, essentially. So your letters will not know where they need to go to be in their default position. So when they start trying to calculate offset, it'll be all kinds of weird. So we probably want cached mesh info and label info. I guess those are fine as is. I don't think we need to necessarily refresh the cached info here then, which makes things really, really awkward. So I probably want to do that. And then I probably want to come up here, have it be fine. Okay. So we're going to change this from letter info to cached. Oh, not cached mesh info. Cached info. Okay. So we're going to say this, 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 and this. Okay, that should let us update our cached info. Let's get rid of these guys, get rid of these guys, and get rid of this. So the last thing we're going to do here is when we call refresh label, we're going to apply all of our vertex changes that we made to our meshes, and then we'll force the label to update. So that's going to be fun. Okay. So for that, we're going to need to come back here. I need to double check what I have to do to get this to properly work. So we'll say label info of I dot mesh info of j is equal to label info of I mesh info of j mesh dot vertices is equal to vertices. Oh, jeez, there's so much that has to be done. Okay. Oh man, this is really just a mess. Let me think. So we have to update the mesh vertices, and then we have to update the mesh. Gotcha. Okay. So we're going to come back here, and this is where it's going to get fun. We're going to do a for loop for I is equal to 0, I is less than label info dot count dot length. Ah, wrong thing. Sorry. This is, I guess, yeah, letter info dot length. And I plus plus. Of course. There we are. And what we're going to want to do there is say update. Hold on. What the frig? Update geometry. That's what it's called, not mesh. Update geometry. So we need to pass in a mesh and then an index. So before we can do that, we're just going to leave that as a squiggle for now. We are going to say label info dot mesh info of I dot mesh dot vertices is equal to we'll say letter info of I dot vertices, or vertexes, I guess, which I can rename to be vertices, so that they match. Vertices. Okay. And then once we have that, we can pass in label info dot mesh info of I dot mesh followed by I. And I think that will do what we want. So let's give that a test. So the workflow is going to be basically set up our cache information, then set up our actual letter information, then adjust those offsets a little bit, and just see what things look like. So let's go ahead and hit 0 here. Okay, so we're going to say refresh cached info. Oh good, we got an index out of range exception, my favorite. Line 47. Cached info dot vertices is equal to the cached mesh info. That's different. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? Debug.log. We'll say cached info dot length plus plus cached mesh info dot length. Okay, let's throw that in there. I'm also going to go ahead and move this down below here. Okay, see what that looks like. So, Garrett, for your alternate styles, what are you planning on having them be? Are they just different ways to wield an item? Or is it like an alternate fire version kind of affair? Okay, let's clear that. Let's try this again. 6 to 1. Because, of course, why would it be anything else? Great. Well, then that means that this is going to be cached mesh info. Jeez, are you serious? Of 0. Oh, that sucks so hard. It is because there are large amounts of individual vertices here. Isn't that right? Ugh. Okay, let's see. I guess that would make sense. Each one would be a single mesh. Well, it'd be multiple meshes. Well, that's not great. Okay, let's go ahead and clear you. Over here, we're going to refresh cached info. Good, let's go to debug view, cached info, and boom. So if I'm correct, that should be 4 times the amount of letters that we have. So we have 6 letters, that'd be 4 times 6. So that's 24. Yep, 23, plus for some reason our weird extra ones that we had. So that's about what I would expect. So all of those vertices are correct. When would I ever have multiple? I'm going to test this real quick. I'm going to say attack 2. Okay. Still one mesh. When is it ever not one mesh then? Ooh. That makes things really awkward. It's for building blocks mainly. So I had a separate, or I had separate items for vertical wood beam, horizontal wood beam, and angled wood beam, consolidating them into one. Some wall, or same for walls, different heights. Okay, that makes sense. Does that mean that you're going for more of a survival type experience where you're building structures and all that? Okay, so we're apparently only ever going to have one mesh info, which is really weird. Is this really not? This is something I wrote, right? Yeah. TP vertex info. Okay. And then we initialize all of that. Gives us what we need. And then building is a big part of the gameplay. Okay. I mean, I guess I would hope so if you were having entire building mechanics. That seemed like a lot of extra effort for something that's not part of the game, main part of the game. Okay, so for this, I guess, geez, this is super weird, and this is really annoying. I essentially need to. Oh, geez, that's really just the worst. Okay, so we're going to change this, and we're going to say it's equal to new vector 3 of 4. So it's going to be an array of 4 vector 3s. So we'll say 4 int j is equal to 0. J is less than 4. J plus plus. Cached info of I dot vertices of j is equal to cached mesh info 0 dot vertices of I times 4 plus j, I think is what I want to do there, plus j. And that should get us the vertices only affecting our individual letters. So at I of 0, the first letter, we would have 0 plus 0, the first vertice, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then 4 plus 0. Yep, okay, so that should work. And then from there, we will be able to go down here and say letter info of I dot vertices. Let's really hope. No. Nope. Okay. That's. Yeah. That's really disappointing. Jeez. I might end up making an editor window for this instead. There's just so much crap you have to jump through to get this to really do what you want. God, does it even make sense for me to... No, it really doesn't. So, yeah, so we have to move the vertices is one thing. Okay, So I've been thinking about this the wrong way. I was thinking about this as each letter has its own mesh, but the way the Text Mesh Pro actually works is there's one mesh and just a bunch of vertices. So we need to just keep track of all those vertices, then combine them at the end, and then force it to update. So hooray! Which means that I essentially need to do this. Oh dear. It does not have an index. Mesh info 0. Interesting. Then Then how does that work? I guess it would just be 0, right? Okay, fair enough. Which means that I would essentially do this. List. Oh, of course not. Okay, coming up here. Using sleep, not sleepyal, sorry. System.collections.generic list vector 3 vertex C. Yeah, well, we'll just call it verts. It's new vector 3 verts add range letter info. Come on. Info of I dot vertices. Okay, and we're just going to change this to is equal to verts dot to array at the end here. And let's see if that works. So what should happen now is I should be able to properly generate our letter information, our cached information, and then change our letter information to have the vertices of our label get offset. I should be able to do that. It's going to be hideous, but it should work. We need to make building stuff not only fun, but necessary. That's the hard part. Current plan is to have the environment be fairly hostile, so you need to build to survive it. So when you say hostile, are you talking like monsters attacking, or just like environmental hazards like lava or pitfalls or whatnot? Okay, let's get rid of this, bring it back. Okay, so we're going to come through here. Let's go ahead and say refresh cached info. It's all good. Then we're going to go ahead and say refresh letter. And now, wow, that did not work at all. Oh, it's because I did that here. Blech. Okay, so let's go ahead and change that. Shoot. Let's try that again. Okay. My goal for tonight is basically to get me a tool I can use to just kind of mess around with the vertex positioning, scaling, rotation, and whatnot, so that I have an easier time adjusting that stuff at a later date. So let's shrink you down to that. Let's go ahead and say refresh cached info, and refresh letters. There we go. Yes, there we are. That's much better. Okay. So in theory, if we were to hit refresh label here, okay. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Time out. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. How does that even happen? Okay. Let me think. So we're going to debug the length of the vertices. Or I guess the length of the verts here. So count. And then our triangle length. Nope, hold on. Triangles. so I should be able to see why those are different at the very least. Cold, heat, rain, and snow, possibly stuff attacking, but doing the pathfinding in a dynamic environment is tricky. Yeah, it definitely is. That's probably why all Bethesda games have enemies unable to jump, because it would be a bit of a nightmare to try and get them to do so. Okay, let's come back here. We're going to say refresh label. That actually was not what I meant to do. So let's go ahead and say refreshed cache info, refresh letters, refresh label. All right. How in the world are you? Let me guess. So, yeah. Okay. So, essentially what has to be happening here is that there must be extra vertices that are important that I don't have. So I can't just grab the vertices for my letters. I need to grab them for everything, because of course I do. So, parkour enemies. I don't think I've, I actually don't think I've seen a single game outside of like arena shooters. I don't think I've seen a single game where the enemy could jump. It just never happens. I guess there are a few very rare exceptions in combat games. So think like spectacle fighter games like Devil May Cry and whatnot. They jump, but that's really the only other place. The only place that I've seen it is in combat games. I've not really seen it in RPGs or survival games. Very very rarely do you see it in survival games, I guess, beyond basic pathfinding. But yeah, jumping always seems to be the hard part to figure out for enemy AI. Okay, so I guess God, that really really sucks. So I just straight up cannot just move my labels around. I also need to do the entire mesh, huh? All right. Well, jeez, what am I gonna do about this? Well, take this. So you, no, you're not. Cached mesh info. Get set up here. Interesting. I wonder if I could copy these vertices instead. Hmm. You know what? I think I'm just gonna do a quick and dirty thing. I think I'm just. Ugh, this is gross. I can't spell vertices. Equal to new factor 3. Okay. And all we're gonna do here is say vertices. Are you serious? Why are you mad at me? Because I called it vertices, of course. Is equal to cached mesh info of of 0 dot vertices. And then we're going to come down here, and I'm just going to straight up say, get rid of all of this, and just do this. It's equal to vertices. Terrible, but it'll give us the unrestricted, unfiltered, just raw vertex information, so I can manipulate that. I am really curious as to what those extra vertices are on the trailing end, but it's probably some weird thing that TextMesh Pro has to do. Hello, Cache Override. Beep boop back to you. How you doing tonight? Okay, so we're going to clear this. Let's go ahead and say refresh cached info. Good. And I'm just going to give myself an offset here of 1. So I'm going to say 2, 2, and 0, 0. Okay. Let's go ahead and say refresh label. Well, that's almost correct. It did actually do something, though. You notice that it shifted. I actually needed to go back here to 2 and 2. So let's go ahead and say enter there. We're going to say refresh label. Boom. Okay, so you can see our A is actually moving. It would be cool if I could get this to actually, do a live scrub, but that would probably be a lot of effort. That's actually why I was thinking I would redo this as an editor window, because it would just be much easier to do so. But, okay, so this I can at least manipulate then. Let's go ahead and give this something crazy. So we're going to bump this up to like 92. So we'll bump that up to 72. And we'll give it a vertical offset as well. So let's go up by 3. 7, 7, and 10. Oops. Okay. So let's try updating again. Oops. Oh, it's because I did that backwards. So I actually want that to be 13. There we are. So you can see that we're starting to get the A to drift a little bit. Doing good. I'm doing so-so. It's been a pretty busy week, despite me not actually having to work that late at the office this week. It's just been unusually busy for me. Also, I've been trying to think up a bunch of designs to flesh out combat even more, and I've kind of hit like a roadblock there, so it's been a little slow going, in my opinion. Okay, so we do actually have this getting offset, but we don't have a good way to offset this in an intelligent way. Also, it seems like we just have straight up 4 extra vertices at the end, which I'm assuming are not actually used, but are buffer spaces for some reason. So we can get all of the vertex information, and we can assign all of the vertex information, but we can't really do it easily piecemeal, which is annoying. But at the very least, we do know how to appropriately move them now, because we're just moving the vertices. So the hard part then comes in from us trying to rotate these, which is going to be a whole other monster. Let's go ahead and get rid of you, get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay. And I guess what I would want to do here is let's go ahead and have a private void reset label. Come back to here. We'll say context menu reset label, and all this is going to do is just say label dot. I guess we'll have to do that. Label info dot mesh info 0 dot mesh dot vertices is equal to cached mesh info dot 0 dot vertices, and then pretty much just this. Okay, it's going to be fun because I think that this is actually borked now. I think that this A is going to just drift forever. Unless a script compilation forces it to reset, that would be kind of funny. Let's find out. I'm curious about that, actually. And Shazam. Haha. Oh, it does. Okay. So all of that stuff gets rebuilt. I'm assuming then that it has validation checks. So probably Text Mesh Pro labels, whenever the code is recompiled or validated, it will reset those vertex offsets, um, which is fine. That's not really an issue for us because that won't happen during gameplay because you can't recompile code in a build. Okay, so it would be nice if I could. Maybe I will build a quick function to randomize our vertices here. Not necessarily put them in random positions, although that would be pretty cool. In fact, real quick, let me just test skewing them a little bit. So I'm going to raise, so this is my bottom left, then top right, and bottom right. So I'm going to skew the left up and skew the right down. So let's raise the left by 10. So that, and then lower the right by 10. So if we do that and hit refresh, oh shoot, that won't actually do anything. So I need to refresh cached info first, which is going to reset all of that, sadly. And then I'm going to say refresh letters, and then I should be good. So same thing. We're going to raise it by 10. So we'll say -70. Oh, that's also the X. I don't want to change that. Here we are. So we're going to say -3, 20, and then 0, and -3. All right. So if I refresh this label, oh, that's interesting. It gives us super messed up lettering. Okay. Let's try resetting the label. Ooh, did that not actually? Ooh, looks like that doesn't actually do anything. Okay. Interesting. Well, let's shrink everything back down then. So, oh, right. It stays the same. We only manipulated that. So, that. Come on. That and that. Okay. Let's go ahead and say refresh label. Cool. So, I'm also going to go ahead and move my main camera in just a little bit more so that it's a little bit easier to see all this stuff that I'm doing. So yeah, I guess the next thing I would want to do is just have a offset that I can randomly apply to all of these. Oof, that's going to be a mess. Oh god, that's really going to be a mess. Okay, so I'm going to try to write a function that will basically take our letters as they are currently, and it will move them all outside of the boundaries here. So let's go ahead and come up to here. Let's see. So letter, like all of this letter info stuff is pretty much worthless at this point because we're not actually able to do anything with that. So let's get rid of you and get rid of you. We'll come back down here and we should be good. Okay. So we're going to add yet more context commands because of course we got to have tons of those. So context menu, blah, say private void. What do I want to call this? We'll say randomize position. Okay. I'll just call this randomize. Let's come up to here. We don't actually care. What is going on here? Oh, I guess that would be why. Whatever. Okay, so it's all good. Let's come back down to here, and actually before I do that, I do want to come up to here, and I want to say public float. I guess not a float, we'll make it a vector2. No, yeah, okay. So vector2 offset is equal to new vector2. We'll just do 0f, 0f for now. So this offset will essentially be how far each letter can travel in a given direction. And we will have to make sure that those distances are outside of our bounding area. So for that, we are going to want to say, let's see, cache mesh info, vertices. Okay, so we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than vertices dot length minus 4 I plus plus, because we don't want to get those last vertices in there. Although I guess it doesn't really matter, so I guess we can leave that. But I will go ahead and create a cached vertices value. So let's go ahead and come down here, call this private, call this cached vertices. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do the same thing. We'll say cached vertices is equal to cached mesh info of I dot vertices. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we are essentially going to say, oh boy, this is going to get all kinds of complicated. So, how do I want to calculate this? Okay. I guess, ugh. Yeah, it's going to suck so hard. So I essentially need to loop through 4 vertices at a time. So I'm probably going to have to do something like this. 4 int j equals 0. J is less than 4 j plus plus. Not the most elegant solution, admittedly. We're just going to say vertices of I plus j. That seems correct. So that gets us a vector 3. That's not quite good enough. So we need to say, jeez, I'm trying to think about a good way to calculate out random positioning outside of a given area. Well, I guess the easiest, quote unquote, thing to do would be to, one, get those values. So I'll need to say vector, I guess it'd be a vector, 2 vector 2s. Min is equal to new vector 2, and we're going to say vertices, ooh, yeah, it's fine for now. For now, I'm going to assume 0. Technically, that's not always correct. Actually, you know what? Probably the best thing for me to do here would be, what was it? Cached mesh info of 0 dot min. Of course not. Okay, let me think. Label info dot min dot mesh info. No, that's not exactly the best. What are my options here for label info? Character count, character info, clear, a bunch of stuff, which we don't want. Material count, mesh info, page info. Well, that's inconvenient. I guess I could get character info of 0. Seriously, that one didn't have min either? One of these had min. I guess that has the bottom left, but that doesn't really tell me anything. Alright, fine. This is infuriating, but we're essentially going to have to do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and say vector 4 bounds is equal to new vector 4. I guess we'll just say vector 4.0. 4.0. Okay, so we're going to have to loop through all of these vertices twice. Well, yeah, For int I equals 0, I is less than vertices dot length, I plus plus, coming down here, and we're going to say if vertices of I of is less than bounds of 0, then we will say bounds of 0 is equal to vertices of I. Oh, right, not dot 0. It's going to be dot x. Duh. Dot x. Right. I don't know what I was thinking. For some reason, I was being stupid about this. So I need to say vertices dot x. There we go. Dot x. Man, I do not know why I was thinking that that would work. Blah. Maybe I need to get more sleep. I've been feeling really off my game for the past day or so. Dot y is less than dot y. Dot y. Dot y. So for the vector for x and y are going to be our bottom left, and z and w are going to be our top right. So let's go ahead and continue this, and one more. So we're going to say if z and then finally w, this is going to be greater than, oh, right. Sorry, this is going to be x and y. Ta-da. And it's going to be bounds.z followed by bounds.w, w.z, and dot y. Okay, so that should get us our bounds, so we know what we have to be less than and what we have to be greater than. So we're going to say, how do I even want to handle this? Well, I guess the easiest thing to do would just be to get a random point from the bottom left to the top right, and basically use those as our edging, and we could do any sort of offset from there. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, so for that to work, we are going to need. Let me think. How do we want to approach this? So we populate everything via our first for loop, and the second for loop is essentially going to have to randomly place them. That's not exactly great, so I guess we would essentially want to. Yeah, that would work. Okay, so our offset, where is it? Offset up here is now going to be basically the distance from the edge of the mesh, the original mesh, that we're going to move all of our characters. So, that would just be so crazy to have to deal with, but we will mess with it because that's kind of what we're doing tonight. Okay, so for that to work, we essentially need to do, let's see, so we'll need to get a random point on a square, and oh man, hold on. Does my math extensions have this? Oh, yes! Okay. It's almost correct. Gets a point on a rect from the center with a given angle. Okay. That's almost correct. That's almost what I need. This get rect edge point should basically let us calculate out pretty easily a random point on the vertices mesh. That was terrible. I don't. Man, just off my groove tonight, I feel. Okay, let's go ahead and see, get rect edge point, go to definition. Let's see if I can break this out into something that's not purely rect based. Yeah, there it is. Okay, nice. Okay, so for that, we're essentially going to say get red edge point. We'll give it a size, and then a angle, which will be a little awkward, but it should still work. Okay, so for that, we're going to want to say new vector 2. You know what? Let's just do this. Vector 2 size is equal to new vector 2, and this is going to be bounds dot z minus bounds dot x followed by bounds dot not y dot w minus bounds dot y. Okay, this is going to be our size, and followed by, we'll just say a mathf dot, random dot range from 0f to 360f, and that's all we really care about. So that should get us our edge point, at which point I can then say vector 2 point is equal to that. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say, let's just assign the vertices to that. So we'll get a random position on the edge for now, and then we'll apply offset after that. So I'm going to say vertices I length. Okay. So for that, we are going to need to basically, oh boy, that won't work, will it? That's going to get us the center point, but not the offset. Ugh, gross. Okay. So that means I need to calculate the individual character size, and then I need to basically apply that offset because, of course. Okay. Okay, let me think. So for me to get my character bounds, we're going to need to do vector 2 char size is equal to wow, that really throws things off, the whole vertices being all of them. I need to increment not by 1 but by 4. I have never done an increment through a for loop that wasn't 1. That's super awkward. Okay. So to get our char size, we essentially need to do it's equal to new vector 2, and that's going to be vertices of I. So this is our bottom left. So I want to say vertices of I plus 2 dot x minus. Oh, you know what? No, that's about right. Minus vertices of I dot x followed by vertices of I plus 2 minus vertices of I, and that's all wrong because that needs to see dot y. Dot y. Okay. That should get us our size, and then from there I can say vertices of I is equal to point minus new vector 2. Oh, you know what? Let's just, would that be reliable? Yeah, probably. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this. Grab these guys. I'm just going to divide everything by 2. That gets us not really our size, but our half, our extents, whatever the term Unity uses is. So it's going to be equal to point minus char size vertices of I plus 1 is equal to point plus, and then we're going to have to do new vector 2 char size dot x. This is going to be a negative value and then a positive y value. So char size dot y. Okay. Let's go ahead and do pretty much the same, but in reverse this time. This is going to be plus char size. This is for I plus 2. And I plus 3. So go to point plus. There's going to be positive char size and then negative char size. Okay. So I think I have this set up. So now if I randomize my position, it should all be correct. And for the sake of things, I'm going to go ahead and say vertices is equal to cached vertices. Okay, let that compile. Yeah, I've been messing around with a lot of designs to help extend combat further, but it's just been somewhat difficult to actually think up really interesting text interactions, because I don't want it to just be like all of the labels are pretty straightforward. I would like them to have some variety to them, really. Let's go ahead and say refresh cached info, then we'll refresh letters, and then I will randomize, and then I will refresh label. So close. So close. And by so close, I mean not close at all. That's not really okay. I guess let's reset this. Which does nothing, because of course not. I guess that makes sense. It's probably because I'm just passing around the actual array, and so it's not giving me a new array, it's just modifying the old existing one. So I suppose that means I would want to do this. Yeah, I can just do that. Let's go ahead and refresh cache info. And then let's hit randomize. That, we're getting all kinds of screwy here. I mean, we're getting, everything's like roughly correct, but why is it's always negative 90 then negative 70. Like they're all stacked on top of each other here, which is not useful to me. So something's going wrong here. Either my size is wrong, which is distinctly possible. Oh, shoot. You know what would... Well... No, that's probably fine. Let's go ahead and debug. .log size. .to vector string. Just so I can see what that looks like. Make sure that it's not a weird, unexpected size. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say refresh cached info. You can see that we have all of these pretty healthy values. So the bottom left is negative 81, negative 13, and the top right is about 80 and negative, 80 and 10. So the size is roughly 160 by 24-ish. So let's see what happens when I randomize again. Yeah, that's about right. 160 by 20, well, apparently 25. But you can see that everything's kind of dogpiling here, which is not really that useful to me. why is the question there. Let's see, random.range from 0 to 360. But you're not giving me anything there, which makes me think that maybe my char size is way off. So I guess let's go ahead and debug those two things. So we'll debug.log char size plus point. We're going to do a couple of things. First up, we're going to say, let's see, label info of I. That will not do what I want. Crud. Whatever, we'll just do this. Plus, okay. Let's try that again. I'm just mostly interested as to why I keep getting very... It's like their letters are drawing on top of each other, which makes me think that they're not moving, or it's not iterating through them correctly. Let's go ahead and hit fresh cached info, and then let's clear out our console here. Randomize. Okay. I have two things that say the exact thing. They all have the same frickin' point. Well, yeah, they all have the same point. What the frig? That is clearly not correct. Our char size being similar is believable. We got about 5 different readings. No, we got about 4 readings there, which is odd, but I guess not totally strange. I was expecting 5. I mean, we technically do have 5, but one of them is 0, 0, which I assume is that invisible char at the end. But then we have, I'm assuming K, C, and I guess both A's have the same bounds, and both T's do. That makes sense for the T's, but not really the A's. Okay, weird, whatever. So that's our point is completely wrong. Let's see. Go to definition. Get rect edge point. This should work pretty much the way I was expecting it to. Normalized origin would be 0. Would be the center. And... or would it? Actually. That might not be. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think that's quite right. So I probably actually want this to do like this. We get our random angle, and then from there we'll be able to do what? Center. I guess normalized origin is what I want there. So I think I want to say new vector 2, and 0.5f, 0.5f. Which I guess actually mean, wait, what? Okay, how does this work? There's one that has 2 vector 2s. Let's see, center. It's because one's a rect. Okay, that makes sense. So for that, I probably need the center to be 0. Okay, so I want to say vector 2.0 followed by that. Okay, let's see if that makes a difference. Certainly did. Made it so that I have compilation error, which is always the goal of your code. It's just a hassle when it compiles, because you gotta wait for it. But if there's an error, then it's faster. I believe that's science. Okay, so let's go ahead and say refresh cached info. Randomize. That seems better. Maybe. Maybe. Let's see what it looks like. Eh. So yeah, that was partially the problem, is that I think, casting everything from the bottom left as opposed to the top, or from the center. So that's decent. Hmm. Well, excuse me. Let's go ahead and randomize and then refresh label again. And we're going to just kind of keep getting drift here. Oh, that was interesting. Did I hit reset label? I think I did. Okay, whatever. Let's try randomizing again. And again. Okay, so we're getting a fair amount of overlap, which is annoying. It looks like my T's and my... Well, no, my A's aren't overlapping each other. Okay, so this is T and a C, and this is an A and a T. Um, hmm. 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 Well, it really isn't getting me very much, is it? Because it seems like they still clump, which might be a coincidence. I don't like that. Why are they always so close together? Ugh. Hmm. Let me think. What do I need to do here to get it to not be terrible? Hmm. Well. Not really enjoying this. um, I really wish that Text Mesh Pro's vertex animation functionality was a lot easier to use. I mean, don't get me wrong; the fact that it exists is nothing short of a miracle, but it's a pain to work with. So, yeah, this is a lot worse. Okay. So I'm trying to think about how I'm gonna animate this stuff further down the line. Because the idea with this vertex animation specifically was to try and get one of the designs I had sketched up working, which is essentially where the letters would be outside of the box in a scrambled order, and you would just have to type them in the correct order. Um, but that's not exactly an easy thing to do. So I think I can. Excuse me. I think I can get a decent arc going. So let's try that. Okay. So I'm going to come up here. We're going to say we have our label, we have our offset. I'm going to give this. Let me think. Okay, so let's go ahead and. Is my offset even being used right now? I don't think it is. Nope. Cool. So I'm going to call this offset x range is going to be equal to. Let's just go ahead and say 10 by 10. And then we'll say offset y range, public vector 2, offset y range is equal to new vector 2, and we'll go ahead and bump that up to something crazy like 30f to 50f. And it will be apparent why I want that in a bit. But as for the offset y range, we are also going to go ahead and say public animation curve, we'll call this y curve, is equal to new animation curve dot. Can I get a bell? Nope. Dang. Of course not. I guess we'll just do this. 0f, 0f, 1f, 1f. Pretty straightforward. Okay. So essentially what I'm going to do for this is, oh boy, this is going to be fun. So we're no longer going to have a randomize. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and have a context menu. We'll just say create arc, or arc that way. And then private void create arc. Okay. So what I'm going to do is essentially I'm going to have the top left, well, so I'll have the leftmost letter be the left base of the arc, and then I'll have the rightmost letter be the right base of the arc, and between them I will have the letters that are making up the word between them basically form an arc based on a y curve. That's going to be my goal. So for that, we are essentially going to want to do a lot of this. So we're going to copy pretty much all of that. And probably going to copy this as well, except it's going to be different slightly. So now instead of getting a point, we are going to instead, let's see, what do we want to do here? Let's change our size to, say, size, jeez, size, get rid of point, we don't care about you anymore. We also don't really care about our point anymore, or rather not our char size anyway. So instead now vector 2 point is going to be equal to, we'll say vector 2.0 for now. But we are going to actually want to evaluate that based on, let's see. Okay. So I probably want to have a float center y is equal to, I guess it would be 0, wouldn't it? So never mind, that's actually pretty easy. So point is essentially going to be, point is equal to mathf.lerp based on the index that you are at. So this is going to be from bounds.x minus let's see, that'd be offset x range dot x. That'll get us our leftmost point. So we're looping from there to bounds dot z plus offset range dot y. So that gets us our x positioning based off of t, which is going to itself be, oh dear, I guess I divided by vertices dot length. That doesn't seem right, but we'll give it that. Okay, so that gives us, oh, that's the x value, by the way. So that's point.x. And we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing for y, but it is going to have some slight alteration. So we'll say bounds dot w, no, yeah, this will be y minus offset y range dot y, then bounds dot w plus offset y range dot y. Okay. Oh, and also this should be offset y range dot x. Everything else is good. Okay, so those are our values, except I actually want y to be a little bit more predictable in the sense that it needs to not be randomized. It should actually be rather, well, no, that's about right. Let me think. We're going to say, that's right, the curve. Wait, no. Hold on. So this is our normalized value, and that's what we want. So I think I need to do this. Y curve dot evaluate based off of this value. Okay. All good there. And let's see what that looks like. Okay. And I actually do think that this needs to be minus char size. So I do need to keep that in there. Okay. So that should let me position those values, or those letters, in an arc above the label. Which probably means that when I try to do this, it's going to look like, I don't know, a giant skull and crossbones that says your life is in vain. I'm assuming. I have no proof of that, but you know, it's entirely likely that that's going to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this because I want my curve to be more bell-shaped, essentially, like that. And we'll make it more of a harsh bell, so more like a parabola. Okay, so let's try that. I don't know why I tried to save that. Okay, let's do create arc. No, I can already tell that that's wrong because everything is clumped together. So if I try to refresh this, which I did apparently, yeah, it's just gonna completely bork it. So let's try resetting that. Yeah, no, this is completely wrong. Notice that everything is like negative 100 and 80 for all of this. They're like always the same x position, which already means that it's wrong. And that's probably because these are rounding errors. So I'm guessing I need to do the annoying, like, convert these to floats and then convert them to floats. Because it's probably just getting us rounding errors when I try to divide ints by ints. I guess technically they're not rounding errors, they're just rounding stupidities. I was hoping I wouldn't have to cast them because I was lazy, but it's always what happens. Whenever you try to divide ints by ints, and I always recommend that you just cast your ints to floats before you try to divide things by them, because typically what happens is the output is an int, and therefore it clamps everything to its value, which most of the time is going to be 0 if you're trying to do precision movements. So let's go ahead and reset that. So we're going to say refresh cached info. Okay. Create arc. And well, that's sort of correct. It did do what I wanted. Kind of. the offset on the A is weird. Like everything's lower than I was expecting, but we did get an arc. The extra space on the right is because of those, again, the weird extra vertices that we were getting. So if I were to refresh this cache info, these extra vertices are throwing it off, which is annoying. So I guess that actually means I need to do vertices.length -4 and wrap that in our parens. -4. That should get things looking a little bit better. So we're going to say bounds dot y minus offset range dot x versus there we go. So this needs to be bounds dot w plus that. That's part of it probably. Let's go ahead and let that go. Hello, Scorpio. Welcome back. How you doing tonight? So we do have it generating in an arc, which is useful. Let's go ahead and refresh cached info, and then create arc, and then refresh label. Better. It's interesting. It's still off by 4, if I had to guess. Why is my A negative? That's what's truly baffling about this. Well, at the very least, we do have it forming in some sort of shape. So that gives me some amount of hope. Let's go ahead and shrink this then. Instead of 30, let's make this... Oh, that's why. I'm going to change this to be plus, because I actually want this to be rendered above it, not from below. That's probably actually entirely why it's all messed up. So this will give us a larger offset. Well, not a larger offset. It'll give us a more compressed arc, but it will all be above the label now. I ache. I was helping our new band director paint the field for the first time, and we have to measure everything for the first time. So I was working outside in the sun from 9:30 to 5, and I had band from 6 to 8. Oof. Yeah, that is brutal. Did you get everything painted at least? For all that work? Alright, I'm going to say create arc and refresh label. Yeah, that's more what I was expecting. But we're still somewhat off. Why is that? It feels like... I mean, I guess no, that doesn't make sense. I'm kind of curious to know what this value is, like what it comes out as, so I'm going to debug that. Because I think that will help me know if it's actually getting all the way to 1 or if it's stopping awkwardly before that. It seems like it's stopping awkwardly before it, because otherwise the K would be on the far right, kind of mirroring the A. Well, it's always fun to relax after a hard day's work. Let's go ahead and clear all of this. Let's try refreshing cached info again, creating an arc, and then refreshing our label. Okay, so it goes from 0, so A, T, T, A, C, K. Nope, it is still falling short. Really? How does that work? That's interesting. That's interesting indeed. Well, nope, that shouldn't affect it. Hmm. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. What can I do about this? Um. So the problem is that I think it's getting to the end of it's getting to the last vertex cluster that we don't really need. But that's weird because we should have 2 1s in this regard because I'm subtracting 4 from our final length. But that's not actually doing anything. Interesting, interesting. Well, I suppose I could do this, -4. That should prevent the last iteration. So now we shouldn't even get 1 out, I don't think. It's still weird, though. I don't know why it would be so strange. Why it would actually get to 1 when it should be in... Well, I guess that's not true. It's not that it should be impossible, it's just that it shouldn't be possible as is. Or rather, it should be possible, but it shouldn't have done that. It shouldn't give us an incomplete arc if that's the case. Let's go ahead and say refresh cached info, create arc, and then refresh label. Okay, so that is stopping, which means that it is evaluating k as not the end, which is really weird, and that means that this calculation is not actually useful. Interesting. But why? Well, what I would expect... I must be doing something stupid. That's the only thing I can think of. I divided by float vertices dot length -4. I mean, that should bring it down to 1. Maybe I should debug the length of the vertices. So debug.log vertices.length. Make sure that that's... Oh, that's stupid because I can see that. So that's kind of a pointless thing. Maybe I can debug the I, though. So I can debug my index, make sure that it's getting to where I would expect it to, at least. So let's see what that looks like. Grumble, grumble. Random noises. Okay, let's try this again. So we're going to go ahead and say refresh cached info, create arc, 0. These are 2 separate things, right? Yes, okay. What are you? Okay, then what are you? Okay, that makes sense. 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. 20 should be our last one, and yet it is not. Interesting. So we have vertices with a length of 28. So we have 27 elements. Well, we have 28 elements, including 0. Which means that 28 minus 4, last I checked, is 24. Ah, that's our problem. Okay. I was doing that the wrong way. I actually want this to be -8. Oof. Really? I guess that kind of makes sense. So I actually want this to be this. Because I need it to be the first char of, or the first vertex of the last char. And each char is 4 vertices. So subtracting 4 from the total count gets me the last vertice, but that's not actually what I'm using for calculations. So I need to subtract 8. That should fix it. So now what it should do is basically A should be here, K should be here, then T, 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 A, C, K. So let's try that. So I'm going to say refresh cached info, then create arc, and then refresh label, and haha, voila, it works. It's time to update the outro music. That's probably true. I've actually been thinking about that. I have a couple of other songs that I can play. I just have not swapped to them. Well, I guess remind me before the end of the dev stream, and I'll do that before I sign out. So as I'm like doing my normal wrap up speech, I'll get that all set up so that we can have different outro music. And so we have this generating along an arc now. I guess we could go ahead and let's increase these to like 50 and then 70 basically. Let's give this a new. Ooh, there it is. Okay, I was gonna say, like, did that not actually refresh it? And then let's go create arc and refresh label. Cool. So now you can see everything's above it. So that's pretty useful, and that should work for, in theory, any amount of characters that we have. So any sentence structure, not just one letter. And that would work pretty well. The real question in here now is basically getting randomization to work amongst them. So with this particular set of characters, oh man, I just realized that's gonna. Well, I guess that's not terrible. Actually, I would just need to change this. Let's go back to the label real quick. I wonder if it's gonna reset. Oh, it doesn't. That's nice. I'm gonna change this to make these guys white. Oh, it does there. So I'm gonna make that white. Let's go ahead and I should be able to just go ahead and say refresh label and then have them all go back. That's a little bit clearer. One of the concerns that I have, actually, now that I think about it, for the letters floating outside of the actual word or the actual bounding box here, is legibility. They need to be readable, and if say they're white and there's a white background, that would not be possible. And unfortunately, this font does not like to play nice with TextMesh Pro's outline system, so that's not great. Well, we have it rendering into an arc, and we have it positioning vertices outside of the label. But I think I'm going to have to really just shove my head into this until I understand it. Because there's still a ton of stuff that we can do with this vertex, or the TextMesh Pro vertex offset stuff. And it's so complicated. As much as I would like to keep doing this on the stream, it's probably not a good idea because I don't know it well enough yet. If I can write some helper functions to do this, it'll probably help speed things up quite a bit. Because as it is right now, I'm manually moving all of the vertices at once, and that just sucks. So that's probably a decent place to stop for the night. We didn't get as much done as I was hoping, but I also said at the beginning of the stream that I was expecting us to get bogged down with this stuff because it's super complicated. So I guess I can't do that. I lied. I won't be able to really swap very well while the stream is live. So I will swap the music out after the stream tonight. Because in order for me to actually swap out, I would have to like switch over to the outro screen and then swap a bunch of information out live, which would not look or sound super great. So we'll have one more go with the current music, and then I'll swap it out for the next stream. So just a quick recap of what we've done. Admittedly, basically just messed around with vertex animation. Didn't get too far today, so hopefully I'll get some of my mojo back over the weekend. So announcements. This Saturday I should be doing my dev stream. We'll be finishing up our work on the one-off vertical scrolling shooter game, just so that I can clear my head a little bit more, and basically we'll put the finishing touches on that, which would be enemies and I think attacks, and then maybe the transition effect, and then we'll probably be done with that. And then we'll get back to probably Text Quest again the following weekend. Oh wait, no, the following weekend I'm probably not going to be doing Devstream, but that's 2 weeks from now. So, okay. So as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.